And we're on the air again.
Okay. So we'll forego the weather things. It's now spring, so
Yeah, it's
uh,
good.
it's good. It's now nice
Yeah.
ish. You know. Although, really quickly, did you get the rain from weekends ago that was just torrential, or did you not get that?
It passed by, went north of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we had the whole day of just torrential rain.
I saw it on the radar. Yep.
It was not fun,
No.
especially if you were outside. So, did you have a good week? Did you get stuff accomplished?
No. No,
No.
I did not. Yeah.
So are you having my type of reporting this week? This is going to be a quick 15-minute and we're out.
Yeah. It's gonna be pretty brutal.
No,
I've blogged about it. Um, was at
it's funny that you'll blog about it, but you won't, sit down and write your book. Anyway, go ahead.
yeah. Well, it's complicated, right? um, I attended WisCon, which is this science fiction feminist conference online. Comes out of Madison, Wisconsin, hence the WIS. It was really interesting. Lots of really good sessions. Lots of people to talk to and good information. Um, but at the same time, some of the people who are doing, who are winning the awards in this field and all this kind of stuff are talking about how they have to juggle their full time job, and you know,
Yeah.
and there's somebody else who's been in publishing for 10 years and is now at break even, um,
Yeah. Okay.
and this left me offline for a couple of days. It was just like,
Oh, really?
what the fuck is the point? you know and then you come back to, okay, the point is to get the story out there, right? I never expected to sell 10,000 copies, right? I I want to get this story out in the world and then get another story out in the world, and if some sort of you know fame or financial success comes from that afterwards, it's a bonus, right? But it's tough to see the people who are doing really well going, yeah, I contributed $2,000 to my family this year.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. That's going to lead right into our hook for this week, but we should at
Exactly.
least first get into yeah, because on your point about getting people to read things, and then we'll get into how we did this week. Um, my mother passed away middle of, well, almost a year ago, well, about 8 months ago,
Uh,
and we're going through the house and we're doing all kinds of things, and my brother and I, he said, come on over, now it's time to do family pictures. So you start looking through the pictures, you're doing all this, and it's just a pile of stuff. And what are you going to do with pictures these days? Like, you can digitize them, but my family was in the photographic business, so we have so
uh,
many pictures, and you're like, it's not worth digitizing. What I found was my mother had written a diary about her and my father's, what she called, courtship.
mm,
And I thought to myself, uh, of all the things I'm going to take, I think I'm taking this. And the reason is, she wrote it, so she obviously wanted somebody to read it.
maybe.
That's at least what you think,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
She didn't want
if you
nobody to
write
read
it
it.
down,
Yeah.
well, maybe, but
Yeah.
she's now dead.
Yeah.
So, maybe if you don't want anybody to read your stuff when you're dead, burn it before you die.
Or
So,
write on the front page, if I'm dead, burn this, right?
yeah, burn this.
Yeah.
So it didn't say that. So there is a diary of how they met and blah blah blah. So so I thought I'll read it, and then I don't know, burn it or whatever I'll do with it. It'll have no consequence to anything after that, I guess. If anybody has any comments of what they would do with it, put it in the comments below. But yeah, And then on your point about blogging, I don't blog because I figure if I have things to write, I would like to write a story. I don't see about, but blogging these days is thoughts. It is a personal diary.
In a way, I mean, that's what it started. I mean, mine is usually the stuff I don't put in a newsletter, right? Just the,
Okay.
what's going on and all that kind of stuff. And the hope is that what you're saying resonates with somebody and they want to hear more and they sign up, get your blog posts, and then maybe become a fan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True enough.
Yeah.
If anybody's reading my shirt, it says, "Pay no attention to my browser history. I'm a writer, not a serial killer." So that's.
Yeah.
Would you like to start with how your week went, or would you like me to kind of?
Oh, well, because mine's short. I've been going through the round of edits that I made before I knew how to end the story, and just like the
That was
first
your
pass,
developmental edit you were doing, yeah.
I'm not on the developmental yet. Like
Oh, okay.
I did a printout of the whole manuscript as it was before I had an ending, and read through it just because I was trying to get full context on the story. And in the process, you wind up making minor edits, right? And so I'm putting those minor edits in more or less out of desperation to to say I'm moving forward on something, and that's going very slowly and disappointingly. But anyway, it's going. So that's really about all I've done on the manuscript. What I've come to understand is that the theory of a developmental edit and the practice of a developmental edit are two different things. And so I think I'm fairly well versed on the theory, but this is my first crack at the practice, and it's not easy. Yeah, so I'm I have to force myself to sort of get into it and do something I'm not comfortable with. Yeah, so.
So I had goals of last week, scenes to write. Did you do those?
Nope, nope.
Okay. Punch up characters.
Thought about it, but
Okay.
nope.
And then the developmental edit. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have lots to report, obviously. Okay. Um, would you like to set goals now, or wait till I'm finished?
I will wait.
So my set goals for last week was to get my shit together. Um, Writing. Geez, I don't even know what that says. Maybe I should fix my writing. Oh, I had a Reedsy story to do. Write something down, and edit 5 characters.
Right.
So basically, it was basically get back to writing, which I had your week.
I was
last
at
2
5
weeks.
chapters. Yeah.
Yeah, it was into 5 chapters.
Yeah.
So I entered the Reedsy competition. I wrote. I took a story that had been a very short story, and I expanded on it. Meaning I added, I think, about 13 to 1400 words to it. Developed the characters a little more, made it seem, gave it more body, gave it more life. Some of those flash fiction stories that you end up writing are, fairly quick, and the characters become very. We had talked about characters being, very, one-dimensional.
Yes.
Especially in some of those stories, because you don't have a lot of time to develop the character. So I developed the characters a little bit more because I had a little more runway. You could have up to 5,000 words. So I wanted to complete the story, but I wanted to. So it ended up being just under 3,000. So I was happy about that. And then I wrote a 500-word story for NYC Midnight. So in total this week, I wrote 1,861 words.
Mm-hmm.
With a bunch of edits along the way, obviously, but 861 words.
That beats zero. Yep.
Hmm?
That beats zero.
It does beat zero. And then, actually, this morning, I finally I realized that I had not edited a chapter. And I went, damn it, I'm at least going to get one. And guess what? I did get one.
Excellent.
So
Good.
I edited a chapter. So maybe next week I can hit the 5, but one is better than
Right.
than
Yeah.
zero. So,
Yeah. I mean, if that breaks the dam and gets you back into doing it,
yeah,
that's the point, right?
that's what the hope is. That make your tea in the morning, sit down. I probably edit. Where some mornings I can write 2 or 3 chapters. I can edit 2 or 3 chapters. Sometimes it's just one, just so that it can get. I read it 2 or 3 times just to make sure that it's where I want.
Yeah.
And then I leave. I personally leave the edited chapters alone. Come back to it the next day, and then the first thing I do is enter the edits into my program, and then I move on to edits again.
Right.
And that way I'm caught up to where I am in the editing process. Everything's now fresh, and I can move on and continue to make the storyline work. Whereas if I did it the day before, I may lose the thread of where I was.
Right. That makes sense.
And then when that's done, it's got to go to an editor, and I do have an editor actually. His name is Alistair, and he's been very good. So I've never had him do a full book. I've had him do a few chapters, but I think it's going to be time to throw one his way, or find one like on Reedsy or whatever, and give them a shot as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And there's somewhere I have a list of freelance editors.
Yep.
I can send that off to you.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get closer to that.
Yep.
So that's where I sat this week. I was happy to write a little short story. I was happy to expand that story because it was one of my favorites. I've always liked it. Whether it wins or not, I don't know, but I've always liked the story, and I always felt there was more to tell.
That makes sense. Yeah.
To flesh out characters instead of making them very one-dimensional. The precocious 12-year-old,
Right.
the guy who learned something from a 12-year-old. Blah blah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That sounds good.
So I will go with goals first. I will say 5 chapters to edit, which is really I think where I want to be. I want to focus back on editing. I may write a little. I'm going to write that in. Write a little, not fully, because I think the edit's now going to start taking more shape than the new story. I've got 2 stories, like one on the left side of my desk, one on the right side of my desk, that definitely need finishing. But I also have this one that it's time to put that one to bed and get it published in some way, shape, or form.
Exactly. Yep.
So, like, you're working on it long enough, at some point you go, okay, look, it's going out into the world.
Yeah. Precisely.
And then maybe once you get one, the second one comes easier, or not. I don't know.
I certainly hope so. I mean, I'm at a different stage. I'm still working on the first novel, and you've got 5 or 6 on the shelf, right?
Oh, I got like a dozen now.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
So it means I could edit for the rest of my days and be okay. But I don't think I want to be there. I want to continue to write, but also edit.
Yeah, but in terms of being successful as a self-published author, having a collection of books is really good, right? Like the position I'll be in, which is like, here is my standalone single novel. It's like, why would I invest in this guy? What's the point, right? I don't know what he's written. I don't know what he's going to write. It's not the same as going and saying, well, look, this guy's got 20 books. He must be serious. I'll pick one up and see if I like him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I always like to. I think we've talked about BookBub before, and when they have their books that are on sale or whatever, I'm always like, oh, I like the sound of that book, and then you find the store that you can buy it in at Kobo or Amazon, and you notice they have 4 more, and you're like, oh, and they're all on for 99 cents. Maybe I'll buy all 3. Just to see if I like them, right? So it's not a huge investment at that point.
No, exactly. Yeah. And then you've got, I mean, if you like the guy, then you start tracking. right? And saying,
Yeah.
I'm looking for another story from the same character, the same mind. You know?
Same author, same mind.
Yeah.
David Baldacci has a whole bunch of stories. I was always thought that I would be in the realm of. So my first book is about a little, it's about a pet detective who becomes a serious detective, and or is thrown into it because who the hell really, he thought pet detecting was going to be a great lucrative business. It was. And so I wrote 3 of those, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be stuck writing them. And then somebody like David Baldacci comes along, and I'm kind of following him and listening to his story, and he's like, oh, I love writing about all over. And I thought, oh shit, why don't I, so I created other characters. And I have 2 or 3 different trilogies that have been written, and I have some standalone stuff.
Perfect.
One that I think should have a trilogy to it, but it was such a tough write that I just never seem to want to go back to that, that
Right.
world. But I'm like, I could easily go back, but I thought it was a very tough book to write. So I was like, because there was a lot of either fact based or things I had to research. And I am not the best of researchers. I like, playing the mind games.
Right. Interesting.
So I need some goals from you, my good man. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to continue getting these minor edits in, and then I have to sit down and figure out what's going on with my subplots. So I want to broaden those. It's the same as the last time, right? Broaden out those minor characters a little bit, make sure that their character arcs are not a straight line. And fill in the last scenes and really give it a good run at developmental editing. I also, well, to me, it turns out being a goal. I joined up critters.org, which is part of critique.org, which you should probably check out if you want to add more stuff to your plate. The way it works is you sign up and you get a list of manuscripts that you could critique, and critiques are due every Wednesday. So you get this list and you can pick one, you write a critique, you submit it onto the website, and you get a little bit of credit for it. And if you've got enough credit, you can submit your story for critique.
Oh, I think I've seen this thing.
Yeah. So,
And what's it called? Critters? Or
hey,
critics?
Critters.
Critters.org or
Well,
Critters?
it started out as Critters, and then I guess the guy who set it up went, wait a second, I can expand beyond the science fiction genre. So it's critique.org has got all the subgenres and literature and all those other fun things. So it's interesting, but at the same time, I'm now obligated to submit a review by Wednesday, a critique by Wednesday.
You know why I probably couldn't do that, and I would happily do it, but I'm a slow reader. I have
All
so
these
much
things
other
are
things to
6,000
do
words, right? Like I've got 6,000 words.
They can only put in a certain amount. Right?
I mean, you can sign up, you can post a novel, but the novel comes in, the ones I've seen is basically like 4 chapters per week, right? So it's
okay, got it.
you sign in to doing a bit every week until the book is over. Yeah.
So basically, if you had 80 chapters, then 4 chapters.
You'd be running 20 weeks.
That would take a long time to get a critique.
It would, but it's other people who have done critiques, and it's good external feedback, and it costs nothing, right?
Except your time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Which is sometimes at a premium. That's where I get at.
Well, it is, but I like what they say. It's like by learning to critique other people's work, you become better at critiquing your own work, right? And so, I mean, that was the thing. I looked at a couple of manuscripts and I went, I have no friggin' clue what to say about this work. And so I have to go off and find resources on how to critique.
Yeah, which gets you down a rabbit hole, and then you're there again.
Well, but that's a skill that I need, right? So I'm I'm doing the same as our biweekly check-ins. I'm now forcing myself to do something that will force me to learn how to do a critique, and from that, I hope to be better at critiquing my own work, right?
I would hope it helps. I would. I understand the philosophy behind it. Uh, I just don't know if I could devote the time
Right.
to writing and critiquing and to reading more. Um, it's just, it, I think at some point, while I still do listen to, um, a few podcasts here and there, I
Hmm.
do listen to like master classes and some BBC stuff, and I've got. I can't remember which author just joined BBC Maestro, and I had a free course, so I took her course. She's a very famous author, especially in Europe, and I cannot for the life of me remember. I'll look that up for next week. But um, the stuff she was talking about sounded great, and I do want to listen to her. Um, my days of wanting to join a course
Mm.
are done because they all said the same thing.
Right.
They
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
they all go with the same tropes.
Yep.
Uh, they all seem to be, as I said, they all seem to be telling you the same stuff over and over and over again. And great, yes, it works, but I've now heard it two,
Right.
3, 4, 5 times. I don't have to get into another course to tell me the same thing about plot developments and that kind of thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's where I am, and I guess that leads us into this week's hook, which
Yeah.
you kind of touched on earlier,
Yes.
and I kind of semi touched on it as well, because I went through it for about 2 weeks,
Right.
and it was self doubt. Do you get it? And what do you do about it? And I think, since you most recently are the one who went through it,
Yes.
maybe we'll start with you.
I thought it was ultimately ironic that the week before we record this, I'm sitting there going, "What the hell is the point?" um, but in terms of the way I get through it, um, I still want to tell this story, right? I I I like the story. I I dislike the issues that I have with it, but and I don't think it's like it's not a life changing story. It's never going to be do it's never going to be a Philip K. Dick novel, right? Or it's not something at that level, but it's a nice story.
They're not going to turn it into Blade Runner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I might try, but that's a different issue. um, so I think I spent like 2 days just going blah, and then it's like, but I still haven't told this damn story, right? And I was working with, I have a friend. I fixed up some nasty little issues in her website, and she's a professional editor. So we worked out a deal where I trade some time on fixing her website for some time editing a manuscript. And so we're talking about writing and stuff, and she's like, "Well, as long as you're still having fun." And it's like, I have a different relationship to fun than most people, I think. For me, fun is accomplishing something, finishing it, right?
Yeah.
The process of getting there is not fun. you know so people say, as long as you're having fun, and it's like, no, I am not having fun. I've had to learn all sorts of stuff that I didn't expect to learn. I've had to encounter problems that I didn't expect. It's not fun, but if I get this thing done and get it out there, that's fun, right? And
Yeah.
so really it just becomes, I've put all this time into this thing and I'm not at the point where I'm having the fun yet. So I better get back to it and get to that point where something is out in the world, right?
See, the fun part for me is the writing part.
Yeah,
If we're going to talk about fun,
yeah,
I love the writing process. I love sitting down with a pen, a paper, a blank page, and let's go. Let's figure out where we're going. I love sitting down again with the pen and the previous day's writing, looking through it, knowing where I am, reading my little notes, and going, all right, let's continue. Let's kill somebody. Let's let's find something. That's fun. But then you finish it. That's where the fun ends for me, because now
Right.
it's work,
yeah,
right? Now it's the editing. Now it's the sending it off. Now it's the the rejection of agents.
Yes.
It's the finally sending it off to like a proper editor, which I've sent a few chapters off, and getting not only their talk about it, their little synopsis, but also here's what I think you should be doing. Look over these edits, and you're like, oh my god, like it's every page I gotta go over. I gotta say yes, I want that. No, I don't want that. It's and I get it. It's people think that authors have fun. Yeah, but it's still work.
yes,
Like there's fun aspects, and then there's the job. And I think when we were talking about what I had learned in these courses, one of the things that I hated was how formulaic writing becomes. And
Right.
if you watch a movie, they are very formulaic. Something happens, everybody's happy. Whoop, something happens here that everybody gets in trouble, a couple breaks up, whatever it is. Now they got to find their way back, and then everybody's happy again.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a formula over
Well,
and
it's-
over and over.
Here's your genre. Here are your beats. Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's what's the book was called, Save the Cat or something like that, and it was all about cat gets in trouble, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
it's just and it made me so sad to go through these courses and realize that it's just trope after trope after trope,
Right.
and you're like, "Ugh." And I think that's the depressing part, when you're learning about it. And the self doubt was, as I said, I went through it. You went through it these last 2 weeks. I went through it the 2 weeks before, and probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
I was wondering again, why do this? My age, blah blah blah. How many books am I actually going to get out? What's the point? Is my author's website ever going to be done?
Mhm.
There's just so much self-doubt that goes into this. I don't think I don't know, when you were developing websites and all that, did you have a lot of self-doubt when you got up in the morning, or were you like, no, I know exactly what I'm doing?
Um, sort of a combination. I mean, the thing with all online software related work is that you're on a boat in the ocean. Everything's always moving, right? So, like this site that I went in to fix up, there's a couple of abandoned plugins. There's one there that somebody had just abandoned it. Somebody else had picked it up and added malware to it, so that instead of a nice little feed on your site, you wound up with soccer scores and then other bad things. So you have to go in and especially when it's a really old site like that. First, it took a couple of days to get credentials, find out who had maintained it. The previous maintainer had dropped all his notes. His domain doesn't even work. So it took a while to get all that organized and get in there, and then you have to figure out what are the replacements, how much work does it take, you know. So it's not just, yeah, I'm going to get up and fix this. It's a how do we fix what's broken? So like if you're not a mechanic, somebody brings your car in, you diagnose the problem, you have the part number for the thing that's broken, you order a new one, you put it on. That's an oversimplification, but that's the general process, right?
But I wonder if there's does there self doubt when they're putting it on? They go, oh, I hope I put the screws on right or something. I don't think. And look, I'm not saying that we have the hardest job in the world. We sit here and we write. That's not hard. It's not like we're not an auto mechanic. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not manual labor in the garden, stuff like that. And that's how some people have their creativity. They go out and they garden and they create these beautiful things. You and I sit behind a table. We create beautiful things
Right.
that we think are beautiful.
Yep.
But I don't know if the gardener looks at there and goes, well, I don't know if I planted that right. Maybe
they
they
do.
Maybe
My wife is a gardener, and stuff
yeah.
gets moved around and rearranged. I think it's an attribute of any creative art, right? Where you go, am I creating the right thing, right?
Correct.
Am I doing it
So
right?
I'll go with the art. We all have the doubt.
Yeah.
But like the auto mechanic, the guy who fixed your air conditioner, the ditch digger, do they have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to their job?
I think there's a little bit of problem solving there, and you probably wonder whether or not you've got the right solution to the problem, right? I mean, there are car problems that are difficult to diagnose, right?
Yeah, I had a car that just would, believe it or not, when it got on the 401, it would buck, but I could be anywhere else and it never did it.
Ah,
So go figure that out.
interesting.
Even if I was driving the same speed, like I was driving 100 on the 401 or 100 on a back road, it would buck on the 401, not buck on a back road.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem.
Strange.
No kidding.
And the mechanic spent a long time trying to figure out what the hell was wrong with it.
Yeah,
So,
did he?
and he said, and he finally did the thing, and he goes, "You're right. I don't know why it happens." So,
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I'm sure, medical doctors have a fair bit of self-doubt. Did you get the right diagnosis? Did you do the right
I
thing?
don't know. I've met doctors. I don't see any self-doubt in them at all.
Okay. So, my
I think doctors have a lot of confidence, or they at least portray that they do.
well, yeah, but my father-in-law had a gastrointestinal issue. He was not a young man, and there was a fairly complicated surgery that he could perform, but it was inadvisable to perform it on somebody this guy's age. And he sort of said, I'm leaving it up to you. This is high risk. And my father-in-law went, it's worth the risk, right? I don't want to be alive and dying from this slowly. If I die quickly, that's fine. So he had the surgery, and he spent several weeks in ICU, and he passed away.
Mm.
And we talked to the doctor afterwards, and this was a man who had a lot of self-doubt. He
Oh.
really wasn't sure if he had done the right thing. And I had to reassure him, because I had a conversation with my father-in-law, and he was very clear that he knew the risk, and if it didn't work out, that was fine. And I had to say to the doctor, no, look, he knew what he was getting into. He made the decision. It's not on you, right? And I think that made him feel a little bit better, but I don't know if
If he ever got over it.
you ever reconcile that.
Yeah.
I mean, you get over it and work on the next patient, but I think that happens more often. You know, I think the medical profession tries to make sure that they don't show that. That you don't want to sound like you've got self-doubt, but I think if you talk to retired doctors, you'd find that there is a lot of that. Yeah.
So how do we get by it? Like what's the best way that you have found as somebody who has just gone through it today or this week? How do you come out of it? Because you were like, I don't know why I want to write, and I came through it like, I don't know why I want to write. How do you how do you personally get past it? And then I'll tell you, I guess, what I figured.
Well, I think I've already said it, right? I get satisfaction from finishing things, right?
Good.
And I don't finish anywhere near 100% of the stuff that I start. But I've spent the better part of 5 years on this frigging project. And I'm not going to walk away from it, right? And so it's, you sit there and you wallow for a while and you think, what's the point, and should I give up? And it's like, if I give up, I'm thrown all that way. Like I've learned a lot. I mean, there's been, I don't know if I'd call it fun, but there's been a lot of good learning, and I need to turn that learning into, for lack of a better word, product, right? I want a result from this project.
So I get that, and the reason I join a writing competition, and you said you couldn't do such a thing, is because even when I have my self-doubt, and they seem to come up every either month or every 2 months, there is a competition that I've joined, that when I do have that self-doubt, it forces me back into the ring. I
Right.
have to write something for the competition because I'm one who doesn't like to waste money. And
Right.
if you paid the $20 or the $40 or the $50, and they're always in U.S. funds,
Yes.
so it's more, as a Canadian, it's more money for us. Then I'm like, okay, I've got to put something pen to paper, and then that gets me back in the ring of writing. And then I want to go back to writing my own stuff instead of being forced to write. Like this time was a suspense story with a wedding dress and somebody has to howl. That was the 500-word story. And I had to write that. And then I was like, okay, now that you've written something you have to write, you got to get back to the stuff you should be writing.
Right.
And I think that's what kind of drags me out of the doldrums, and that's what gets me back on track. Is the hate of wasting money and knowing that I have to write something. There was this writing battle that took place. The company's out of Nova Scotia, or at least East Coast Canada. I came in the top 64, which is nice. But they had also said that 3,991 people took part in the writing battle
Right.
of the 5,000 some odd that signed up, which means they paid $25 or $30 and never submitted anything,
Yeah.
which to me blows my mind. Like, write 3 words on a page and submit it. Just get something.
That's funny. You see, I'm a frugal son of a bitch. I don't want to spend money on things that don't advance the production and marketing of my book. So what you're doing with writing groups is to some extent what I'm doing with this critique thing, right? It's going to force me to write a critique once a week for as long as I want to participate and hopefully get credits, and maybe somebody will critique my work. But the real point is just to have a deadline that gets me at the keyboard, and at the same time I'm going to be picking up a skill that I think is valuable, especially if I decide to publish somebody else's stuff. I want to be able to read a manuscript and make commentary that makes some sense, right? That I don't want to be looking at it going, what am I going to do with this, right? I want to be able
Yeah.
to pick it up, look at it, and make some intelligent commentary on it. So it's the next skill in the skill set that I have to pick up, and it's a weekly deadline, which means I have to start focusing on writing. And if I'm writing a critique for somebody else, I better move my fucking novel along.
Yeah, and I always find if I work much better under deadlines.
Yes.
When I have articles due for wine magazines, if they said, "Oh, just have it into us anytime," I would never get it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and
My deadlines, I like the deadlines where they're, $500,000 projects that are going to ruin the company if they're not done on time. Those ones are the ones that I can really get
I would
into.
guess. I write a lot of because I know you don't have a lot of short stories. You told me that you don't. This is the one thing.
Yeah.
So I started doing the writing competitions early on in my career. Like I've been writing since I was in my 20s, and then somebody said, "Oh, writing's not really a career." Thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
And I moved on, and then one day I found my writing, and I'm like, I've got to get back to it. So, but I've been writing like short stories and stuff like that for competitions, and my girlfriend, Ophelia, who is kind of spearheading the development of my website, said you can take these short stories and give your website that content,
Yep.
so that people at least get a feel for your writing, and then maybe they'll want to buy your book, which became, you sign up for the newsletter, you get a story. And that,
That's
and
the way it
then,
works.
as long as you're a member of my website, you can continue to, and then my newsletter is going to contain a link to another story.
Right.
And also because I was in radio, in theory, this is a theory. Every quarter, I'm going to read one of the short stories, so you can get the audio book of that as well. So if you enjoy
Nice.
it. So these are things that I think is going to help populate my website and give me some traction.
Yep.
So we'll see. Hopefully the thing's done by the end of the summer, and I'll be happy to tell everybody about it when we launch it.
Excellent. Yep. I have some ideas along those lines for you too, but off air. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll talk later. So we've got our goals. We know what we did, and now it's time to lay the hook for next week. And here it is, because you were talking about it earlier. It kind of sparked my interest. Character developments. Good, bad, the hard, and the easy of it. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week.
All right. Sounds good.
And so, good luck. I hope you actually accomplish something. Write something. Few words.
You got
Maybe
it.
a chapter.
All right. Same for you, my friend.
Okay.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Ciao.